Hello, my name's Bill Moore. I'm the agronomy and seed lead for elders in Western Australia, and responsible for our distribution of canola here in Western Australia. So Mike Lamont has asked me if I can have a bit of a discussion over the supply and availability of canola, especially going into the 2022 year. Initially, I'd like to reflect on the 2021 year and to say that we've had a massive year in the ability to supply many different technologies of canola into many different areas of WA and allow growers to be able to get some very good high technology, high yielding canola. It has really been the backbone of what we've been able to do this year. And many people are now seeing the great results of that. So when we start looking at going forward to next year, we all understand that there are going to be a lot of constraints to what we can actually bring through for next year, purely because there has been such a high increase in the amount of area grown, and we need to make sure that we cover that off in what we're actually supplying. So a couple of things which I'd really like to outline is that there are many constraints that we have around what we can actually do in that marketplace. So first of all is understanding some of the technologies that we have. So around the TT, the triazine tolerant varieties, this has been a space that's been moving very, very quickly. First of all, is we've seen that there's been a move from the OP or open pollinated varieties to a lot of the hybrid varieties. And this transition has been very quick over the last couple of years. Secondly, we're seeing a shift from the older Roundup Ready varieties into a lot of the newer TrueFlex varieties. And many growers are really wanting to take on those new technologies. As well as adapting other things like our Clearfield varieties, which has really had some part of what we've got to do to adapt into our other production systems. So with all these things on, there is a lot of things we've got to take into consideration about the varieties that we've got coming into Western Australia for the coming year. The other thing is in Western Australia it is a very unique production system. We don't have a lot of other places around the world, so therefore canola that is produced for WA quite often is just produced for WA. So with all these things, it's a matter of working through how do we make sure that we do the best to actually bring through the seed that is required for a year like this year. No doubt about it, the big driver to it is with really good canola prices and like the beginning of this year, a really favourable start to the season, that demand becomes insatiable, and that's what we've really got to make sure that we do. Reflecting on that, when we had 2 years ago where prices weren't as high, there was a lot of excess seed, not only with our seed companies, but with the distributors as well, and a lot of times on farms. So it is a bit of the cyclical nature of where that seed supply comes through. So we do really reflect on those sort of things coming through, but we are working with suppliers to make sure we understand what their constraints are. Especially around the hybrid production and understanding whether it's around the parent material that they're needing, whether it's where they geographically can produce it, or whether it's just the time constraints it is to actually get it here to WA. With all these things, we do make sure that we understand where their expectations are with varieties and that they do have a clear indication of what's actually going to be available. With this information, we do allow growers to actually have good information to what they can get. In some cases, it might not be the first variety of choice, but it is making sure that they do align what the technology is, what the growing season length is, and that they do get a suitable variety for where they're at. So with all these factors in play, there is going to be a lot of canola that's going to come into WA next year. Is it exactly the first option? Not always. But there are going to be a lot of options out there for growers, and I really do encourage them to be proactive with communication about what they're going to be requiring for the 2022 season. So thank you for that.